Welcome back, everyone. I'm Stephen Foskett, organizer of the Tech Field Day events, and we are here once again at Aruba Networks for a discussion of 802.11ac. Around the table, we have some Tech Field Day delegates. We're also joined by some folks who you'll be introduced to in a moment. And again, on Twitter, if you would like to pose a question, just send it at Tech Field Day or use the 11AC hashtag, and I will try to raise it from the table here afterwards. So we're wrapping up the day, but the folks at Aruba wanted us to meet another company who is using their 11AC gear. In fact, Exafort is the first 11AC customer I hear. So these are the guinea pigs, the neck sticker outers, the beta testers, all that sort of thing. Again, I have Arun Kanchi here, and he's going to introduce the rest of the folks at the table and tell us a little bit about their experience actually using the access points that we've been hearing about today. So take it away.
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Arun Kanchi, CEO of Exafort. Going to be presenting, actually, we're going to have a discussion on next-gen access networks. I wouldn't call it a presentation, make it more interactive and discuss what's this all about. I have my team here from Exafort. Eric, do you guys want to introduce yourself?
Sure, Eric Pastor, Director of Infrastructure Services at Exafort.
Mark Johnson, Manager of Network Engineering, Exafort. We're doing routing, switching, firewalls, wireless, those kinds of things.
Juan Gary, I'm a Network Engineer at Exafort. Same network and wireless backbone, firewalls, support.
Okay, great, thank you. So all the tough questions, guys, it goes to them. So before we talk about next-gen access networks, quick background about who is Exafort. We are a cloud and mobile systems integrator founded in 2009, headquartered here in Santa Clara, rapidly growing with 3 centers. Our customers are mostly in the mid-market to Fortune 500 firms. We bring a lot of expertise in multiple verticals and bring in extensive technology and business leadership. Last year, we got a Next-Gen Solution Provider Award, CRN, they're an analyst firm. Our vision is to create business value using new generation technology, cloud, mobile, big data, social enterprise. If I were to summarize what we do in one slide, and I didn't get too many slides to go over the whole spiel, so very quickly, we create, design, and develop solutions. We deploy them for our customers. We manage them on an ongoing basis. And then we extend the solution that we deploy by integrating them with other processes within the business. Okay. Next-gen access networks. All right. Actually, before we talk about next-gen access network, blast from the past. This is a sketch from one of those high school project books way back several decades ago, maybe 100 years ago or so. Back then, this is how we used to communicate. Telegraph keys, with dots and dashes, or that would print over a spool of paper. And of course, the biggest application back then was to use them for messages from ship to ship or ship to shore. And we have come a long way since then, right? With new techniques, beamforming Wi-Fi. I don't really understand how that works, but it works, right? Kirti can probably talk more about that, but it works. It's great that we're able to pump a lot more data and transmit a lot more data wirelessly as opposed to just a dot and a dash 100 years ago, right? Today's workplaces, right? This is pretty much most of us in the room here. We are in GoToMeeting with our customer, our clients, or our teams, downloading files from box.net, watching Hulu, catching up the previous night's game, maybe listening to Pandora at the same time, and maybe printing something on your printer using AirPrint or, White Eyes, some interface. And not to mention playing some air guitar as well, while all this is happening. It's a very busy workplace. And we need large bandwidth. It's been possible today only with wired networks. Right? With Aruba's new technology, we're able to do this same set, high bandwidth, media, multimedia data streaming wirelessly as well. So if I were to summarize mobility needs in 3 words: security, privacy, experience. Security in terms of corporate data, making sure the corporate data is secure. We have our employees bring, their own devices, and they take them home. There's all kinds of things happening with those devices. So making sure the corporate data is secure is very, very key, right? Privacy. Employees do carry personal data on their mobile devices. We want to ensure that their data is protected and their privacy is protected. And providing a great user experience, making it easy for us to get on the wireless network or, be able to get access to parts of the network or parts of the data that's context-based and using things like AirPlay and AirPrint to easily print from our Wi-Fi devices like the PDAs and iPhones. Right. So what's the next-gen office at Arista Networks looking like? It is pretty much all wireless. I would say pretty much all wireless because without wireless, the business can't run. It's that critical. All employees, all guests are on wireless. It's secure. Thanks to Aruba technology, we're able to securely provide that network. And access to all their applications running on the cloud and mobile apps running on the devices from anywhere. High performance, it's very critical that we get very high performance from the wireless network because Arista is an engineering company. If you guys have been in engineering R&D environments, there's a whole lot of large data files that's going back and forth between the employees' desktops and the data center servers and servers on the cloud and whatnot. Right? High density. Most of us nowadays are carrying more than 2, if not 3, mobile devices, a phone, iPad, laptop, maybe a second laptop, and so on and so forth. And high availability. Again, because at Arista, where if the wireless is down, the business is down, it's very, very critical that we have very high availability of our network, right? So taking a closer look at the wireless LAN infrastructure for Arista. Arista is in the process of moving to a new 5-story building. This is, on Great American 237. It's being constructed. If people have, if you're driven by, you would have seen this. This is that exact building. And what we did for them is deploy about 15 access points per floor, about 75 in total. And each of the access points are connected to switches, 2 per floor. And then we have redundancy at the controller level, the 7200 controllers. And they're then connected back into the data center, which is running Arista core switches. A couple of things to highlight here. As you can notice, we haven't taken any chances here. Everything is dual. All paths are dual, including the power supplies on the equipment, on the controllers and switches. We have dual power supply. So ensuring very high reliability was key. And if you guys know how 802.11 AC works, having a good population of the access points was also key so that we could get throughput for everybody within the vicinity, right? What else? The support for cloud and mobile apps. Given Arista Networks is mostly using cloud-based applications, everything that's done by the business is on the cloud. Google, Salesforce, NetSuite, GoToMeeting, and their phone system is also on the cloud. So it's critical that we are able to ensure data rates and guarantee data rates for certain applications. So enabling QoS was very critical. And we, of course, use Aruba's AppRef technology to do that. And for mobile apps, enabling access to AirPlay and AirPrint over the Wi-Fi network was also key, and we use Aruba's Air Group to do that. Support for mobile devices, again using Aruba's client match technology, enabling the 802.11 AC rates was feasible, and automated secure RF management using their Aruba's RF project and Aruba adaptive radio management. Any questions at this point, until this point? Okay, moving along. Security for network access. So we are enabling the firewall on Aruba controllers and switches, which role-based access control. We, of course, do have a Palo Alto Network firewall as well, so there's integration between Palo Alto Networks and the Aruba gear. We're also deploying ClearPass for enabling Arista to sponsor their guests to access wireless network, and onboarding the employee devices in a secure manner using certificates and so on and so forth. So to summarize, Exafort's managed IT services for Arista, what we did and what we've been doing for them. Predictive and active site surveys, and providing floor plans, heat maps, and so on and so forth. Design and deploy the controllers, switches, access points, and the ClearPass software. And providing IT help desk as a service, where we provide complete end-to-end Tier 1 through Tier N support, and we use the Aruba Airwave tools to monitor and provide reports to as needed. So with that, that's pretty much I had in terms of slides. And now we can open up the floor for discussion, question and answers, and we'll take it from there.
So the network design that you showed us before, that is primarily you're using that on the edge of your network, not in your core data center?
Primarily on the...
Is that primarily on the edge of your network where users are accessing the network, not in the data center?
It's primarily on the edge network, right?
That's correct.
Yep. The data center is all, wired, the equipment are all within the same room. The data center, in fact, at Arista doesn't exist.
Really?
The reason for that is everything is on the cloud. So, in a sense, the edge devices are accessing applications on the data center, which is on the cloud. Right?
So you could say that you're truly a cloud-based company,
Yep.
really.
Yep.
You have all your services and everything.
I would
really
say
on the
90%. There is some local storage and things like that. The source control for the engineering team, that's local. But everything else, all their tools, all their applications, especially the corporate business applications, all that's on the cloud.
They have labs on site, but
Yeah.
Arista is a data center product.
Yeah.
Right.
Arista is a cloud product.
That's why I asked.
Yeah. It would be odd that they are not using the cloud, being a cloud-based company.
What kind of clients did you use for your testing when you deployed these 802.11 ACs, and were there
We
some
didn't have too many to
challenges?
choose from. We actually got a couple from CDW. We're actually in the process of still testing. So this is for, we're in a beta environment right now. We have the beta 802.11 AC that were provided by Aruba. We're actually using 135s as well. We have controllers, so we're kind of building up our lab. We've purchased a bunch of different adapters out there, and I'm watching the forums and waiting for Apple to come out with some news. And
Yeah, they just
buy
said
that
something
device
today,
right away.
didn't they?
Yeah, and so the goal is for the PowerBooks and the iPods and the iPhones and the iPads and all that.
Have you found a particular client that, at least in your guys' testing, that you've found works better than the others? I mean, a lot of us have been running around with these AE6000 from Linksys.
No,
And
we're in the same boat. Yeah.
It's all new. Yeah. Okay. Steven, any questions online?
I'm waiting. Let's see. Again, if you're online and you've got a question, just send it to at Tech Field Day, and I will relay it. Question from George Stepnick. what clients?
That's what I just asked.
Sorry, we just asked that one.
I have a question for you.
Let's that one again.
What in the previous couple of things we've been looking at, Microsoft was running 182 APs for 600 people. The last one was 180 for 1,300 people. What's the ratios of AP to individuals? I don't want to play with devices because people have so many.
Right.
But
So yeah, the people, this building is going to have about 1,000 people when it is fully populated, right? And each one's probably 2 or 3 devices. Let's say average 2 devices, 2,000 devices, right? And 75 APs is what we have deployed.
So 1,000 people, 75 APs.
Yeah,
Less steps.
that's the ratio. Yes.
Because it was Linux client, and the second is they want to have a unified communication application. How does that work?
Okay, good question. Do they have tested with the Linux?
Can you guys repeat the question?
Yeah, the question was, has there been a test done with Linux
No.
clients? And
No.
the second question was,
We don't really have a device per
That works
se.
on Linux.
Most of the devices we've seen out there are Windows, unfortunately. So I think there's coming out with a Mac. I don't know if I don't think there's one for Linux yet. So
yeah.
believe me, as soon as there's one, we will be testing.
Yeah, actually, we need Linux as well because Arista Networks is predominantly Linux and Mac based.
Mostly Mac. Like 90%
Windows is
of
very,
people.
very limited there. Yeah. So that would be an important test for us. And the second question was
Unified.
unified communication. Again, it's that Cisco product.
So right now we have a product that's in the cloud called Finality. We will have soft phone capabilities. So that's our unified communication application that we currently use. We're looking at other ones right now. We're looking at links as well. So we're playing with all that. It needs to run extremely well, and the 802.11ac will allow us also the video conferencing. Everything anytime as soon as the adapters come out, I'm sure it's going to open up a whole new world for us there. So.
So you mentioned that you have a 100% redundant wireless LAN design. So I'm wondering when you're placing your APs and when you're determining how many APs you need, how much thought and how did you come to that number that you've done? And
Yeah.
is it 100% redundant in that if I lose APs that I have RF redundancy in there as well, or is it calculated strictly?
There are
in client?
overlaps. If that's what you're asking about, overlaps in terms of the heat maps. But Eric, you could probably elaborate on that.
So if you lose one AP, basically your speed. Once we've benefited from the full 802.11ac, you'll hop to another AP that'll basically take over that stream. But I'm going to revert to my notes for a second. See, quadrature amplitude modulation. That basically determined that we had to shrink our groups, but we made sure that we had enough APs in place so that there was bleeding and so that would support everybody on each floor.
Okay. So you've got APs that not only support your client base, but extra in case you lose some. Okay.
And they adapt too. If one goes down, they adapt their signal strength or their transmit strength and so on. So they can support up to 2.
But one of the requirements for 802.11ac is that you're closer for better bandwidth, better data rates. Farther, it depends on the reflections and the beam forming and how it works. So the denser. So this is going to increase the sales for Aruba. They need a lot more APs deployed. Yeah, for taking full advantage of the data rates possible. Yeah.
So your question online, you're pulling 2 cables. How much does that add in cost?
2 cables for the access points?
Yes.
Well, the way cabling works, right? The controllers are in the same floor, right? Same for
the
both
switches.
of them.
The
Yeah,
controllers
so the
downstairs.
switches are in the same location.
Yes.
Since they are in the same location, so it's not additional cost other than the cost of the copper wire. But one desirable and nice to have, which we were planning to do, I don't think we were able to do it, was to have the switches in different closets. Then, of course, you're doubling the labor cost as well.
Yeah.
But the run will
So-
be going to different PoE switches in the same. So basically, you'll have 2 runs, one going to redundant PoE switches.
But this is a special case because you guys are dealing with a brand new building.
Yeah. So we had the
that
luxury.
may not be you may not be able to generalize that to dual cable runs for AC beyond this because
Typically, it's about a half. I mean, you for an extra run, you're going to pay for half what the first run was. That's generally what we see.
If it's the same, endpoints, then it's the cost of the copper, and it's probably half the cost. But the recommended configuration or the recommended cabling would be to different closets, so you get even more redundancy.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to put them in different closets.
Yeah.
But if you do that, how would you configure it? I mean, let's say that you could do that. Let's say you could put 2 switches in different closets. How would you end up configuring those switches with these access points if you did have redundant switches in different closets?
I think
the configuration
is it's not the 1.5 times to put the second one. That second cable is going to take a switch port.
Correct.
And you're buying another switch port on an entirely different redundant switch. And then what are you doing to make sure that there's not dual paths there?
Well, so far, the two 3500s that we have and 48 ports, we're running 2 cables, and from what I understand, one will not operate without the other. I mean, even though there's 2 ports in the back of the 802.11ac, but there's only one active at the time.
Yeah.
Does that answer?
No, I was just referring to the cost wasn't just the doubling the cost of the cable to 1.5 times. It was you had to double the cost of all your switch ports.
Yes.
Well, we'll actually be taking advantage of the Aruba 3500s to also provide PoE capabilities for phones, for other devices, because we do have some ports that we were for the conference rooms and for the offices. So those phones will basically be over PoE over the Aruba PoE switches as well.
Yep.
So we are getting a second switch, but we're utilizing what it brings to the table.
Yeah. So the ports are not wasted. If they're not used for the access point, they're going to a phone port or some other device in the conference room. Yeah.
So this, just to confirm, the second cable from the AP doesn't use up a port?
No, it will be using the port. So we have 15 APs, and we have 2 3500s with 48 ports. So we're using basically 15 on each switch, and we've got the balance to use for all the other POs.
Okay.
So we're definitely getting a bang for our buck
Yep.
and having redundancy in place as well.
Yep. Okay. Any more questions?
Looking to see what we've got online. Looking at
Everybody's getting ready for the mixer at 4 o'clock.
How long have you been managing their wire? How long have they been letting you guys take care of their wireless
I've been there
network?
since 2010. Oh, they're wireless? Or
Well,
their
yeah.
network? They're
The wireless.
IT.
Well, the IT and then Wi-Fi. Like when did they?
Well,
say?
this is beta. This network is
Yes.
still in beta.
Okay.
Yeah. So the new building is going live in fall of 2013. So another 2 months. We are going through the deployment.
And that'll
of
be the first wireless
real
for them?
production network onto
So
the.
you're just constructing it at the moment?
Yep. Yep. So far, in fact, we have only played with the beta devices from Aruba. The production the general available ones are getting shipped this month. This month, we'll be getting the real ones.
Beginning of June, I was told.
So we are like really bleeding edge at this point.
So
Yeah.
how long have you and Arista been working together outside of the Wi-Fi?
Since 2009. Yeah.
Okay.
2009?
Yeah.
Another question I've got here. So you're using Airwave to monitor. What are the specific metrics that you're monitoring in that in Airwave?
Good point.
That's still in the process of being implemented and tested and everything. I can't give you specific answers yet.
Yeah, we're looking at APPRF, Airwave, Air Groups, ClearPass. I mean, it's all
Oh, so you're
basically
still-
work in progress. Yeah.
Okay, you're
Yeah.
still deciding. Yeah. Let's see. Getting a lot of.
There was another question about your 802.11 AC test plan. So when you do get the next, say that next MacBook comes out, what's your plan of testing it to make sure you're getting all the benefits?
Yep, absolutely.
No, what
Oh,
are the steps in your plan?
What are the steps?
Yeah.
Probably still a work in progress because we have developers, we have engineers, we have basically finance people. So everybody has a different requirement. But we'll be basically the testing that we will do is very rigorous, huge files over the bandwidths just to see what type of latency there is and what type of throughput. So we'll be doing some 0 to 100 testing. We have to take that into consideration because we have a lot of our software engineers. They enjoy a hardware connection, but we're hopefully going to be leading them away from the hardwired connection.
So one of the key decisions that the Arista management took was to not have wired network to desks, except for one, because they're a wired box company, and the engineers get a wire so they can test their gear. So that's the main purpose of the wired network today. But the management right from the top, from the CEO, said, okay, let's just do all wireless building. So this would be one of the first enterprise building that's all wireless, maybe in the world, if not here. Yeah.
So there's no wired.
Well, there is a wire,
clients?
like what I said, and they call it the Alpha Network, for testing their equipment, Arista equipment, right? So their engineers get a wired port, but otherwise it's mostly wireless.
Wow.
Everybody else is just wireless.
But the phones are wired.
And the phones are wired because the phones don't have wireless capability in them. Yeah. So
We actually have, in some cases, we've been looking at Pico, which is basically a wireless product. So again, once the Pico comes out with some type of 802.11ac client, or even the existing end client could work that well too.
Yeah. The other thing is the phone's on your iPad, or it's a soft phone now. So phones can work with that physical phone. If people still want to use the physical phone and dial from there, they could use that, or they can use the soft phone and dial from the iPad.
Do you have any metrics for the cost savings of going wireless rather than pulling cables to each?
I think we can probably talk in terms of percentage and savings. We still have some wiring, right? We still have to do that one wiring. Instead of doing 3 ports per cube or per office, we're doing 1. So the savings is roughly maybe 60% or so in terms of cost.
For CapEx, for OpEx, you don't have your add moves changes.
Yeah, for OpEx, there's no adds move changes, so we're probably talking about another 60-70% in savings, because you still have to manage the devices and manage the help desk to help people, and we still don't know what 802.11ac will turn out to be in terms of help desk. Right? Once it's rolled out to the mass population of 1,000 people, and once we start seeing how it works and what are the problems, as problems come up, we'll fix them. We'll work with Aruba closely to get them fixed as well.
I was wondering, as a follow-up question, compared to Netflix's IT guy, Mike, who just talked to us a little while ago, how'd you like his attitude of managing the data, not the devices?
Unfortunately, I came towards the last part, so if you tell me what did he say, so maybe we can comment on it.
I probably couldn't say as well as he could, but that they don't manage devices. They're going to look at an MDM solution. They're saying the devices are just there, and his job as IT is to make sure that they have as easiest access as possible, that he manages and tracks the data, not the devices. I just found it refreshing. I was wondering how
data
you reacted to that.
the data in identity.
Yeah.
So is he using FRF and is he using ClearPass? Do you know? Has he used on the other?
They're evaluating ClearPass. I think the bigger point about it is that if you wanted to, you could use an Etch a Sketch if you could figure out a way to put a wireless card on it, and we'll support it. It's kind of.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I would too. Ryan, let's get on it.
Yeah.
But I think the point is, as you're building this wireless network for Arista, have you seen what they're thinking in terms of how their device medium access?
They want it as
do they
easy
care?
as human. Oh no, they want it as easily as human. That's why we're banking on ClearPass and air groups, and all the functionality, the portals for self-registration. We will utilize the heck out of the Aruba product for that purpose.
Typically, it seems like we've been in the past. We've played catch up, trying to deal with the security issues, the administrative issues, the segregation of data, providing because the wireless whole universe has grown so quickly, and so I think with the Aruba platforms, with ClearPass and the different kinds of management features, you have the ability to do a lot more than you did before. You may not leverage all of that immediately, but I think we'll be able to do the application recognition, the user identity recognition, those kinds of things, so that it becomes less and less about a device, but more about who is it and what are they doing.
Mm-hmm. So if you had to encapsulate this whole design, what would your key takeaways be from this process you went through? The building's still not occupied yet, right?
Not yet.
So
We're
you're going
back
to give
to
advice
about
to
6
yourself
months
6 months ago. What would you tell yourself, your past self,
Good question.
question.
6 months ago, what would
or whenever you started?
Yeah, it's been about that many months so
Yeah,
since
actually,
we started
Steve?
testing and playing with the devices.
How
Yeah.
long has it been?
4 months, yeah.
No, but how long has it been since you and I have been talking?
Oh, we've been talking since December.
Yeah.
So talk to your
what's
Christmas self.
Talk to my Christmas self.
Yeah, what would you have told yourself at Christmas time, looking backward to where
Next
you are
Christmas
today?
or past Christmas?
Past Christmas.
Just check.
What were your lessons learned
Other
from what
than
you've
the
been doing? You know, you've got an empty shell of a building that has APs just sitting there doing. What are they doing? You know, that's kind of one of the questions we're trying to figure out is, what are you guys actually doing to try to figure out if this network's going to work when they come and move in 2 months? I think.
Well,
is- is the
that's part
point.
of the tests and all the beta process that we've been going through. And the current new production gear is being deployed in the old building first, which is Eric and team are working on
Being a
that.
POC.
So we're going to start using it in the old building and then move it to the new building and deploy
think
it.
the
So the
thing-
configurations will be done and ready to go.
I think the thing you missed was that they said that they hadn't actually received their APs yet.
We
And
have
they were,
two beta
they were
APs.
testing the beta APs.
Yeah.
So they haven't actually done the deployment of the APs in the new building yet because they haven't received them from Aruba.
And we haven't even really deployed them in the existing building.
Right.
We're currently building an environment, doing our testing. Probably next end of June, when we actually get the released, we'll be able to use them as well in our proof of concept lab.
I believe they are shipping the APs this month.
Okay.
So that's what I heard.
And the
So we should
assumption
be
that we
getting
kind of
them.
had going into this was that AC, it's really the next generation of devices that we're going to start seeing this. So we want to be ready for that. There's not going to be an immediate huge influx of AC kinds of use, but I expect that'll change pretty quickly in the next 6 months to a year.
So did you use
I think so
Airwave
too.
to do a predictive modeling of the new building to figure out how many access points you needed? Or?
We did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another question about the soft phones and voice over IP. How does that? You mentioned tablets. Does it work on smartphones as well? And how does it work?
GoToMeetings on Androids.
Oh, so it's
on
GoToMeeting.
iPhone. Yep. I mean, Finality as well, but I'm talking about GoToMeeting too. Yeah, and Finality soft
And
phones
as
work
well.
on.
Yep,
Yeah.
there's a web-based cell phone as well. So.
I'm going to ask a technical question, and feel free to not answer it.
I like it.
In your design, normally we design for primary RSSI coverage and a secondary, which would give you overlap. I have one primary and a backup. What levels did you design to, and what SNR was your target that you're looking for? I mean, neg 60, neg 70.
I don't think the tool, we didn't really use the actual metric. We just looked at the general coverage, the level of coverage, the quality of the coverage. I think the optimal, we wanted to basically have it in the top. If green is ideal and yellow is not, we wanted most everything to be in the green to blue category. I mean, that's kind of the way we were looking at it, not necessarily by signal to noise ratio or whatever.
See, one of the disadvantage we had was the building is still a cold shell, was still a cold shell when we were going through that initial process. So doing signal testing and all that without all the walls built and all the furniture in place.
Well, and you don't have the people there as well.
And there are no people either, so it was not the ideal situation for us to do it. So we had to rely on a combination of floor plans to start with, and where the seating is going to be and where people are going to be mostly populated,
Pray that
cafeteria,
didn't change too much.
locations, EBCs of the building, and so on and so forth, where is management going to sit, and so on and so forth. And then, some level of testing for the heat maps in the building when we got access to the cold shell, right? So it's not perfect ideal situation for us in this case.
We
right?
did take into consideration the material between the floors, so that we could basically stagger the APs on different floors for bleeding.
Yeah.
Are you planning on doing like a site survey or something once the building is?
Once the
that's-
building is fully populated and fully furnished,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you know what a cold shell is, right? You walk inside, it's all open. There's no partition walls yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So that's
'Cause you
being
have
built as
no
we speak.
idea what it's going to be like once the big bags of water are sitting around and then.
But
Yeah.
your AP design placement, is it using the bleed through between floors, or is it, so you're using that for actual coverage between floors?
We're taking into consideration that might help with our coverage,
Okay.
yes.
I think we didn't know for sure, but I walked through the building, and it does. Most buildings now have a metallic pan between floors, so you're probably not going to get a lot of bleed through.
Right.
You might get some, but I don't think you're really going to count on that much.
Yep.
As far as the design, I mean, I think we were designing more for device density as opposed to reach. So it's really pretty well saturated for accommodating a lot of users as opposed to how far away can you be in order to still get a signal.
So, follow-on question. Two parts. One is, how did you bring in co-channel interference into your design, or to mitigate it? And so, doing your stacking and being dense, coverage is easy. Getting rid of co-channel interference is difficult. So, what techniques did you use to mitigate against too much RF?
I think we're relying on Aruba's ability to automatically
do the phase
manage the
difference.
RF, basically. So there shouldn't be major issues there unless there's an outside interference coming in. But we're in one building, we're not co-tenants in another with other companies. So I don't expect we're going to have a lot of other kinds of interference. I suppose we could have something from the elevator or maybe from other devices, microwaves or things like that, which we aren't sure what we're going to have yet. But it's basically, the middle of the building is a core, and everything's around that, and we're basically just all the way around the core. So it's pretty simple.
20 megahertz channels, 40s or 80s?
I don't know exactly if you're referring to
Just the width of channels in 5 gigahertz.
Or all.
Is that what? Oh, yeah, you could put them in 2.4.
I mean,
just one of the questions with AC
160.
is we have the capacity to go 20, 40, 80, or maybe even 160.
Yeah.
What was your
In a perfect world.
in your channel plan? How did you address that?
Initially 20 and 40. I mean, 20 for the 2.4, and then hopefully in a perfect world. And then later on, when basically there's more spatial streams and more antennas, get to the 80. We're just kind of hoping.
I think basically you want everybody to use 5 gigahertz, and you're going to get the best performance that way. And the way that the channel is split up, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically designated by the protocol so that you're using at 5 gigahertz.
I can make one of Keith's suggestions. Call your 802.11b wireless, or 802.11b faster wireless.
Yeah.
Gets everybody on the 5 gigahertz.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let society take care of itself.
That's
Who needs band stirring?
yeah.
All right.
Any more questions from back there?
You're gonna conform, how do you implement that? Do you do it as an NJ pair, or if it's like primary, secondary?
On the controllers?
On the controller, what's your,
Active standby.
is it active standby, not active?
Right.
Active standby with the heartbeat going back and forth. Any more questions, Steve?
No, I guess
Online?
that's all I've got online. Unless anybody wants to shout out now would be a good time. All right. Well, thank you guys. This is it's kind of exciting to think about a brand new building with all new IT infrastructure. I think everybody wishes they had that situation to deal with when it comes to cabling things up, and But of course, I don't think anybody here wishes they had that to deal with when it came to deciding where to place APs. Because
I don't know. I think it might be interesting to hear from them, like end of June, July, when they're moving into the building, right?
Yeah, we can come back after September. When we're moving in September, that's when the building will be populated. Maybe we can have one more round sometime after
Just
that.
in time for the next wireless field.
exactly. You know what we should do? We should give Doug Dorley a call and ask him. Hey, Doug, how's that wireless working out for you? Is it okay?
And he'll tell you candidly how it's working. So.
Yeah, he'll always be candid.
Yes.
We can always count on Doug to be candid. So thank you guys very much for joining us.